Hello everyone, my name is Amatul Azreen. So in this video, which is for APS1028 class, Operation and Production Management for Manufacturing and Services, I'm going to do a self-critic video on my Critical Review 1 paper. It'll be based on the scoring rubric that was provided by Professor Armstrong. So the title of my paper is the Product Development Challenges for Space Manufacturers. And before I start jumping to the scoring of my paper, when I discovered the paper by this author, Ron Beck and Isaacson, it intrigues me to look into the paper, and what makes it more interesting is how it somewhat relate to the topic covered so far between module 1 to 6 from the lecture video, specifically the product design development module. One example how it relates, which I already mentioned in the paper, the ease of manufacturability. You design for easier assemble, production, the old ways of designing a product, space product, or any space equipment is from experience. But nowadays, there are so many startup companies, aerospace companies, and business driven as well. And just by observing the growth right now, the key point mentioned by the author for all of this established space manufacturer to implement into the technical design with this concept in order for them to keep up with the other space manufacturers. But anyway, let's start with the rubric. So first section A, problem, issues, and topic. And the first component is identification. So in my paper, specifically in the introduction section, I clearly identified on the production issues and some of the problems that the author claims the space manufacturer are growing through currently. And the problem that was stated, I support this with a different sources and references in order to fully understand the topic, what the paper is about. So on this component specifically, I rate myself level 4. Next component is assumptions. There were few assumptions stated by the author that was mentioned in the paper, and with those assumptions, I analyze them and relate to my own assumptions and elaborate them in the critique section of my paper. So again, I will rate myself level 4 for this component as well. First section B, analysis on the problems, issues, topic, investigation. First component is method. So for this component, I believe that the selected material are used appropriately. Mainly the method chosen was research article and some aerospace technical and business news from the internet as references, which is why I rate myself 4 for method. Alternate points of view, I rate myself level 3 for this component, and the reason for this is I feel the need to have more research done, more article, and more resources need to be analyzed, more, broad points of view. I did mention in my paper a few other points of view. However, mostly it is somewhat aligned with the Ron Beck and the Saxon's point of view. I think it would be more beneficial on understanding the issues better with a more diverse research article paper or video or news or something. Something that I would try to improve on for the second critical review. Next section is credibility of resources, source material. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I wish to have a more resources, more reading material to analyze to get a more in-depth viewpoint. However, the credibility of the resources that I took from my critical review 1 are very credible. Some of the information I got are from the aerospace company's website itself, and the paper by the author Ron Beck and Saxon. The paper was published in the International Design Conference 2018. Yeah, so this section I would rate level 3 just because I think the need to have more references. Okay, so moving on to section D, conclusion, problem, solution. First component, limitations. For this component, I actually gave myself level 2. I did very briefly mention about some of the limitations in the critique section of my paper, something that I could give more attention to for critical review too. Next component is the integration. I believe that by analyzing the paper, the integration based on the analysis falls together really well. It was structural, organized thoughts, agree or disagree, and why on my part was all mentioned in the paper. And a more detailed solution will be elaborated a lot more in the critical review paper too. So I give myself level 4 for integrations. Next is the conclusion. So I conclude my paper by identifying and state the author conclusion cells. And with that, I support it with few examples based on my observations and news that I follow in space industry. Additionally, I add in my point of view as well and how it is all connected and logically, in my opinion. Hence, I rate myself level 3 for this component. Okay, so section E, creativity. So in my paper, there were no really novelty ideas from my side. However, there were unique insights that I mentioned, which definitely raises questions. For example, we are right now currently at the point where we're really almost capable of building infrastructure off-world. So imagine the production of space product equipment is going to be exponentially increased. And it will be very interesting to see in the next 1 or 2 decades. So because there's no novelty ideas actually presented, I rate myself level 3 for creativity. And last section, communication and adaptations to audience risk taking. Okay, so for this last section, again, I rate myself level 3. There were some interesting point mentioned in the author's paper that definitely these aerospace companies, need to reevaluate and implement a more robust production process and design process, in order for them to stay with the competitors, stay competitive with the competitors. So it's definitely a new direction approach for space manufacturer. So, which is the reason why I rate myself level 3. That would be all. Thank you for watching my critical review critique video.